You are earning more money than ever before, and somehow you are still broke. That is the trap, and Solomon, the wealthiest man who ever lived, diagnosed it 3,000 years ago. A prayer for financial breakthrough waits for you at the end. Here is what hurts most. The raise came, the promotion happened, the side income started flowing, and yet the account still runs dry before the month ends. You are not alone in that silence. Millions of high earners go to bed tonight with a paycheck that looks impressive and a net worth that looks invisible. The income went up. The wealth stayed still. That gap has a name. Solomon called it a snare. It catches you by comfort. Ecclesiastes chapter 5 verse 11 says, "When goods increase, they are increased that eat them. And what good is there to the owners thereof, saving the beholding of them with their eyes?" Solomon is diagnosing a specific condition that only appears after the money arrives. The more you earn, the more the world around you expands to consume exactly that amount. Your lifestyle moves on its own. Picture this moment: you get the raise. Human Resources emails you the new number. You do the math in your head. That is $300 extra a month. You think about what that means: the breathing room, the margin, the cushion, and then quietly over the next 60 days, a streaming service gets added. The car payment moves up a tier. The apartment lease renews at a higher rate because you can technically afford it now. The grocery cart gets a little heavier. The restaurant orders get a little larger. 3 months later, that $300 is gone, distributed invisibly across a dozen small upgrades that each felt completely reasonable. Solomon described it, and modern data confirms it. When income rises 40%, discretionary spending rises at nearly the same rate. Wealth accumulation stays flat. The number on the paycheck grows. The balance sheet stagnates. You invited the lifestyle in with every decision that felt like a reward. The money trap operates perfectly well inside a disciplined, hard-working, church-attending person who genuinely believes they are managing well. It runs on relativity. You are measuring yourself against your new income level, and that new income level keeps growing into a larger and larger container. Proverbs chapter 13:7 says, "There is one who makes himself rich, yet has nothing, and one who makes himself poor, yet has great riches." Solomon watched it happen in his own courts. Men of great income arriving with nothing real to show for it. The wealth was performative. It was displayed. Here is where the numbers become uncomfortable. Research consistently shows that a significant portion of households earning over $100,000 annually still live paycheck to paycheck. $100,000. That is a number most of the world's population will never see in a single year. And yet the account is empty. The emergency fund does not exist. The retirement calculation is terrifying. How is that possible? Income is a river. Wealth is what you build beside it. Most people are standing in the river, hands open, feeling the water rush through. They call that prosperity. Solomon called it vanity. What are you actually building with what flows through your hands right now? You are exactly where you need to be in this conversation. Drop a comment right now and tell us where in the world you are watching from. Something remarkable happens when people from different cities and countries realize they are all living the same financial reality. Tell us your city. Tell us your country. This conversation is global. Proverbs chapter 21 verse 5 says, "The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty." Solomon is pointing directly at the diligent planner, the one with a system, the one who makes the decision before the money arrives. Solomon had more resources flowing through his hands than any ruler of his era. Royal caravans, trade routes from Egypt to Arabia, annual tribute from dozens of kingdoms, weights of gold that would be incomprehensible today, multiple tons arriving every year. And what did he build? Permanent structures, the temple, his own palace, which took 13 years to complete, infrastructure, storehouses, a fleet. He was converting income into fixed, appreciating, generational assets. Now here is the surgical observation. Solomon could afford any upgrade imaginable: the most exotic food, the finest materials, the largest armies, and he had access to all of it. But the historical record shows that his construction projects, his trade investments, and his wisdom systems were the center of his reign. The wealth grew because the income was directed. Most people receive income and let it dissolve. There is a difference so massive, it determines your entire financial future. Here is where the psychology becomes the trap inside the trap. New luxuries produce a burst of emotional pleasure that fades within roughly 90 days. A new car feels transformative on day 1. On day 90, it is just the car you drive. The upgraded apartment is just home. The new wardrobe is just clothes. The pleasure dissolves. The financial obligation remains. The payment continues. The lease runs for 12 months. The car note runs for 60 months. You paid for a feeling that lasted 90 days with a contract that lasts 5 years. You bought the emotional experience of wealth and received a multi-year bill as the receipt. Proverbs chapter 27 verse 12 says, "A prudent man foresaw the evil and hid himself, but the simple passed on and were punished." In Solomon's language, the simple person is the one who responds to the feeling of the moment. The upgrade cost you more than the price tag. Solomon built his wealth by seeing through the immediate feeling to the long consequence. He trained himself to ask what a decision would look like in 10 years. That surgical forward-looking discipline is what separated the man who possessed wealth from the men who merely displayed it. If this precision is resonating with you, press the like button right now. This kind of ancient financial clarity deserves to travel further. The luxury car arrives as a reward. You tell yourself you earned it, and perhaps you did. It only calculates what it extracts. Monthly payment, insurance premium, maintenance, depreciation so aggressive that the vehicle loses a quarter of its value in the first 2 years. All of that is leaving your wealth-building capacity every single month, converting your future into metal and leather that the bank technically owns until the final payment. The bigger apartment follows the same logic. More space creates more expense to fill it. Larger utility bills, more furniture, more maintenance, a lifestyle that now requires the higher income just to survive at its current level. You have upgraded your obligations. The golden handcuffs are real, and they are self-installed. Here is what Jesus taught about this exact condition. In Luke chapter 16, verse 10, he said, "Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much, and whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much." The person who cannot manage a small income with discipline will not magically develop discipline when the income doubles. The raise amplifies the pattern. The same habits that kept you financially stressed at $50,000 will operate at $100,000 with twice the force. Jesus was describing a repeating law. Faithfulness scales. So does unfaithfulness. Whatever you are doing with little is exactly what you will do with more unless something intervenes and changes the operating pattern. That intervention is called a rule, a pre-commitment, a structure that removes the decision from the emotional moment and places it in a calculated, intentional space. Solomon's wisdom points toward what you can call a proportional allocation discipline. When a raise arrives, when new income enters, split it before it touches your regular account. Assign 50% to wealth-building instruments immediately before the lifestyle has any chance to locate and absorb it. Move that allocation the moment the new income arrives. This is the discipline most people never apply because it feels like deprivation in the moment. But look at what it actually produces. An income increase of $1,000 a month means $500 monthly, $6,000 annually, directed toward net worth. In 10 years, with even modest compounding, that allocation becomes something that changes a family's trajectory permanently. Meanwhile, the person who absorbed the full raise into lifestyle has a slightly larger apartment and a car they barely notice anymore. Your net worth begins to grow faster than your lifestyle. That gap, that healthy inversion, is the definition of building real equity. Proverbs chapter 27 verse 23 says, "Be diligent to know the state of your flocks and attend to your herds." Solomon wrote this as practical instruction to an agricultural economy, but the anatomy of the command is timeless. Know your state, attend to your actual position, confront the real numbers even when they are uncomfortable. Here is the practical edge of that verse. Most people cannot tell you their exact net worth right now. They know approximately what they earn. They have a rough idea of what they owe. But the precise difference between assets and liabilities, their actual financial position in real terms, is a number they have never sat down and calculated. Solomon says that is negligence. Attend to your herds. Know exactly what you have. Tend to it deliberately. Joseph in Egypt demonstrates what this looks like at the highest level. When Pharaoh gave him authority over the nation's resources, Joseph immediately designed a system. 7 years of aggressive allocation, storing provision during abundance, so that the coming scarcity would not destroy what had been built. He was directing the surplus before the need arrived. He saw the future and structured the present accordingly. The result was that while the entire surrounding world collapsed under famine, Egypt stood with stored provision that others came to purchase. What Joseph built was the practice of intentional resource direction under a clear vision. That is the model. Now apply the retroactive audit that Solomon's Proverbs demands. Think back over the last 3 years. What did you actually earn across those 36 months? Where is it? What is materially different about your financial position today compared to 3 years ago? If the income grew by any meaningful amount and the net worth is roughly the same, the trap has been operating. The raises have been consumed. The growth has been invisible. The audit is a clinical tool. Use it with precision. You cannot correct a pattern you have not identified. The correction begins with a specific number, a specific gap, a specific new decision made before the next income arrives. Proverbs chapter 21 verse 20 says, "In the house of the wise are stores of choice food and oil, but a foolish man devours all he has." The wise house has stores, reserves, depth. It was captured, designated, preserved, positioned. That word stores in Hebrew carries the meaning of something deliberately set aside. The last raise you received was an opportunity. The one before that was an opportunity. Every future raise is still an opportunity. The question Solomon asks is whether you will direct the next one. Luke chapter 16 verses 1 through 9 contains a parable that unsettles many readers because the manager in the story does something ethically questionable, and Jesus commends his shrewdness. Here is what Jesus was actually teaching. The unjust steward, facing a crisis, acted with tactical precision to secure his future before the window closed. Jesus said, "The people of this world are more shrewd in dealing with their own kind than are the people of the light. Those who understand that time is short and resources are limited act with urgency that the comfortable rarely develop." The application is direct. You have a window right now. The next paycheck is coming. The next raise is possible. The next income event will arrive at some point. The question is whether you will act with the tactical precision of someone who understands what is at stake. Here is your one action for this week. Take your most recent raise, bonus, or income increase. Calculate exactly how much the monthly difference is. Open a separate account if you do not already have one. Move 50% of that increase there automatically before the rest of your expenses have a chance to find it. Eliminate one automatic upgrade that was going to dissolve into nothing within 90 days anyway. Proverbs chapter 11 verse 14 says, "Where there is no counsel, the people fall, but in the multitude of counselors, there is safety." You have been receiving counsel from the oldest and wisest financial teacher in recorded history today. The question is simply whether you will act on it. You walk into the trap, and that means you can walk out. The same decision-making capacity that allowed lifestyle creep to operate quietly is the same capacity that can now direct the next dollar with precision and intention. Father, we come before you today with honest hands. We have seen ourselves in this teaching. We have recognized the moments where the raise came and the wealth stayed still. We have felt the weight of decisions made from impulse. Lord, give us the wisdom of a diligent steward. Sharpen our discernment so we can see through the immediate comfort to the long consequence. Let the resources you place in our hands be directed with purpose. Where there has been waste, bring restoration. Where there has been confusion, bring clarity. Multiply what we commit to your principles, and let our families inherit something real, something built, something lasting. We trust you as the source of every provision. We align our choices with your wisdom today. Amen. May your provision grow deeper than your expenses, your wisdom outpace your income, and your legacy outlast your lifetime. Go with that. If this teaching has changed the way you view the wealth flowing through your hands, please subscribe and like this video. We are uncovering the ancient wisdom that modern systems have tried to obscure. Invest in your future. The next treasury of insight will be open soon.